All right.
Hey,
Nice.
welcome to the stream. We actually have multicam stuff set up, and this is looking fresh. We got a couple cam.
Couple
I gotta centralize. I gotta.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
We got a group cam. Alistair has hooked us up with this amazing setup.
Other than the mic, of course.
Yeah,
because of
sorry
the
about
echoey we work.
The audio quality.
But that's the price you pay for when we're in person. It's like, you get the slightly worse audio quality, but 3D people.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah. So this is the first in-person stream we've done, right? We've
only met each other once before.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. Alistair and I have lived in the same city for like your entire employment with Supabase the last few months, and we still haven't caught up. You two met in Germany before I met him in Melbourne, where we both live.
I think technically we met before you were even employed in Germany, so that was
pretty crazy.
So maybe as a quick intro, just in case you don't know who any of us are at this point. I'm John. I'm a DevRel at Supabase. And I get to do fun stuff like this and put people on the spot to make content for me.
Yep, I'm Alistair. I'm not on the DevRel team, but somehow end up on these streams, which is great. And just here to hang out. We've got some cool tips and tricks later, but first we're going to be doing a bit of an interview for our CEO, Copple.
Yep.
So who are you, Copple?
I'm Copple. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders with Ant. And actually I'm just visiting Australia, funnily enough, for my brother's wedding. But also, you guys were the top priority.
You came here for us, and then you told him, okay, you can get married now. I'll be here this weekend, so you may as well get married.
Yeah, they had to plan it last minute just to make sure they fit to my schedule. But here we are, and this is really why we're here for this happy hour.
Absolutely. So we've got a bunch of people joining us. We actually had Carlos hit us up at, I can't do the conversion of, so 11:41, 5 hours ago.
Something like that, yeah.
Apologizing that they wouldn't be here for the stream. So that's, that's pretty awesome. That's okay, Carlos. You can watch it on archive as long as YouTube doesn't randomly trigger taking it down again like they did last week. But
thanks, YouTube.
All of that is now resolved. We have Anus saying hi. Hey, hello, where are you coming to us from? We've got Navtoj joining us saying they finally caught the stream on time. So we obnoxiously stream this at 3 p.m. Australian time to be super convenient for Alistair and I and basically no one else in the world. So sorry about that, but I'm glad that you're here joining us on time. That's awesome. Vita95 is saying finally catching a happy hour live. So lots of people jumping in at this super inconvenient time zone to join us, which is very cool. And we've got Thor joining us from Singapore, which is awesome. Hey Thor, wish you were here in Australia. You're in a similar time zone, but not quite the correct time zone. We've got Vita's joining us from Tampa, Florida, which is what time is it in Florida?
Was he in Puerto Rico?
Oh, sorry, I just saw FL. And you're from Tampa, Florida, but tuning in from Puerto Rico. Right. I should read the entire comment rather than just... the reason that I was focusing on the Florida part is because Miami Heat are up against the Boston Celtics right now in the conference finals of the NBA, and I'm a Celtics supporter. And very excited for the outcome of that series.
How are they going?
They're actually going quite well. I think it's a 2-2 tied series at the moment.
Okay.
So tomorrow is Celtics at home, and so we've got big hopes for that one.
Okay.
For all of our big sports fans out there tuning in, and we've got a congrats on the raise. Yeah, thank you. So we've raised our Series B, $80 million, which is That's a lot of happy hour streams.
It's a lot of beers.
It's a lot of beers, a lot of happy hour streams, and
hopefully the investors are watching this, so now they know where the money's going.
Even though the beers are free at WeWork.
Yeah, this is what we needed the runway for. Lunchtime pints over here. So Thor is joining us over lunch, which is lovely. He's asking where everyone's tuning in from. If you haven't chucked it in the chat, then do that now. We've got Hijabi Coda joining us for, I think, basically every stream,
Nice.
not just of this series, but everything that we've done for Supabase. So thank you. And Hijabi is asking, where is Tyler? Tyler is stuck in Japan. He's not here in person. Usually he would be joining us, but we thought since we're doing an in-person stream, we're already dealing with enough tech problems trying to just set up all of us in one room.
Yeah, the amount of wires is over the top. I definitely went overboard.
Yeah, if you go and check our my Twitter, I added a comment on my post on Twitter about this stream with a little like behind the scenes shot of Alistair setting up this stuff. So go check that out because it's ridiculous. Did I mention Copplestone? It's amazing. And yeah, Thor hasn't actually met me in real life. So me and him have been working together since I guess both of our first days almost, because I think I was only here a couple of weeks maybe before Thor started. So yeah, we've been holding it down in DevRel across the world, across multiple continents.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we've got Wembo joining us again. Wembo seems to conveniently join us for the start of the streams when we're talking about how great real-time is, and then when we hit a problem, all of a sudden he's not there to help us, or he just conveniently drops out as soon as we're about to ask a question about real-time. But yeah, thanks for joining us, Wembo. Tyler is here saying that he's glad that Hijabi Coda misses him, and he will be back next week. Yes, next week we will be kicking off, continuing our multi-platform app that we've been building, our Happy Chat, the coolest chat in the world.
The happiest chat
the
in
happiest
the world.
chat, definitely the happiest chat. And so we'll keep building that out next week. We'll keep building out the Next.js app, and then after that, I think we'll be moving on to the Flutter implementation that we keep promising we'll get to, but we're just having too much fun with Next.js. Ines is joining us again from Perth, which reminds me I didn't send you a swag code, so you will be getting a swag code, and definitely for joining us yet again. That's awesome. Alpha from Vancouver, that's awesome. What time would it be in Vancouver? I guess early in the morning?
I'm the wrong
Friday.
person to ask.
I think super late at night.
Super late at night,
Yeah.
really, really late at night. We got Jason holidaying in Spain, so it's 7 a.m. over in Spain. That's not too bad. You can have a happy hour breakfast. It's good stuff. Hello from Kathmandu,
Wow.
Damn.
like from the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Good internet up there, is there?
Yeah. Well, I guess you'd have like no obstructions in the way. It would just be perfect. Perfect. What was Elon's?
Starlink?
Yeah, you'd have a perfect Starlink connection up there for sure. And we have Anushk joining us from Goa in India, which is awesome. And we've got Musa from South Africa. We've got Wembo supporting Celtics. No, not supporting Celtics.
Yeah.
Booing Celtics. No.
I know literally nothing about basketball. It's basketball, right?
Yeah. What you need to know
You knew
is
that.
that you support Celtics and they're the best team is all you
Right,
need to
I
know
see.
about
I
NBA.
see.
That's fine. Ashish is asking if they have missed anything, which you haven't missed anything in this stream because we've literally just been talking through the comments.
Yeah.
At some stage, I feel like this stream is just going to be 1 hour of like
Yeah.
hellos with.
Totally.
You literally get through every person in the.
Yeah, because we started off with no comments, and then like when the comments started rolling in, it felt so exciting that we just wanted to address everyone, and we just haven't really like got out of that habit. So like eventually this is just going to be like the join us to read the comments stream.
We should just have like a 24-hour like
Chat
marathon
stream.
where it's just hello. You can join, say hello, and we'll call you out. That's it.
No, we should say this. Yeah, I think you already mentioned we're continuing the happy chat. So if you've been tuning in for the last few weeks, we've been working on our chat app. But this week we've got something special for you because there's a great comment, that one there. We've got the guy on the left here with us today who, I think you missed the very beginning then. He is the CEO of Supabase, so we've got to be very careful on what John and I say.
Yeah, this is going to be the most like restrained stream you've seen so far.
Yeah.
The least spicy stream. But yes, this is a great opportunity to get your questions in to Ask Copple, because we are going to be grilling him on the spot with the hardest questions we can find from the chat. We prepared some like moderate questions and like, given them to him beforehand so that he can feel, prepared for them. So make sure you throw those curveballs in the comments so that we can make sure that we get that Copple cam zoomed right in on that red face as
I know the camera colors. I was just continue to get upset about it, but there you go. What can you do?
Ashish is saying namaste, Ashish. We've got where's Rory? Rory is unfortunately stuck in Singapore with Thor. I think
he's talking to customers, like he normally has to do. So while we're here streaming and
having a beer,
he's busy chatting to customers.
And Wimbo, we will try and front load all of those real-time questions. I don't think we'll have any this time because I don't think we're going to be implementing an actual implementing anything into our application. We're just going to be interviewing Copple at the start, and then in the second half of the stream, we're going to shout out our favorite features of either Supabase or Postgres or just the state of web development currently. But yeah, cool little tips and tricks.
Rory is probably in the gym, says Ian at the bottom. That's very likely. I think actually I messaged him literally an hour ago. He said, sorry, I'm at the gym.
If you didn't know, Rory is an absolute gun in the gym, and him cycling actually powers all of the servers at Supabase. So we definitely want to encourage him to keep going so the projects stay live. He powers the free tier. Homie Coder is joining us from California, which is awesome and probably not a great time for you. Sorry about that. And Saeed is joining us from Indonesia.
Probably a better time.
Yeah, probably a much better time. And congrats to the couple getting married. So yes, congrats to couples.
Pass that on to my brother, Hijabi Coder. Thank you very much.
Speaking of thank yous and shout outs, did we have...
Oh, yeah.
I think my laptop's gone to sleep, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. That was.
It stayed logged in.
Excellent.
That's the joy of the Apple Watch, is you don't have to do the fingerprint if you close it up. It's great.
It's magic.
Yeah, although you've got them there anyway.
Yes, we have a special shout out. I can actually just bring up the tweet here because that will probably make this easier.
Where are the buttons?
Where is everything gone? You will, we'll definitely be experiencing a few more technical problems than usual. Actually, I can do a window and I can just share whatever is on.
Well, not because it's in another screen.
All right, we'll go entire screen. You'll see a flash of us for a second.
Oh, there you go.
And first thing we wanted to shout out is the awesome Repl team. Replit team have put together this Ventures Builder Kit, which is $10,000 worth of grants and a whole bunch of weeks of mentorship to support people building cool new applications. So I recommend that you go and check that out, get involved. There are a whole bunch of awesome sponsors. So Supabase, along with some of our other dev friends like Stripe and Notion, people like that, are giving away just an amazing collection of tools and bits and pieces to get even the more serious projects off the ground without any kind of monetary investment on your behalf. So special thanks to Jeff and Patrick from Replit for putting this one together.
For those who don't know what Replit is, a REPL is kind of like a live coding environment, and Replit basically make it super easy to get started with coding. Actually, it's one of their target audience. I think their goal is to bring the next billion developers online, which is an awesome mission. So you can literally launch like a dev environment inside the browser, and then it's collaborative. So you can invite your friends and you code together, and you can literally build directly from the browser. You can connect up your Supabase database, so you can query it. I think we've got actually a YouTube video showing how to do it, and so we're quite aligned in terms of mission. We definitely want to make it easier for developers to get started. So it's a very cool tool and definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, huge shout out to. Sorry, I was trying to pull up the Copple cam and I didn't get it
Just in
quickly
time.
enough. Yeah, just in time to not need it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge shout out to our friends at Replit. Also, Thor put together this
This is
Okay.
this excellent little snippet from
Jingle.
our new jingle for Supabase, which is our friends Scott and Wes over at Syntax singing our name on their podcast.
Supabase. Okay. Supabase.
That's great.
Super.
I don't know if
That's
you're able to
actually
hear that.
going to be our loading.
Yeah.
Like when you wait for the database, you just click that and then it just gives you a little jingle.
That's great.
It's very cool. I'm gonna unprofessionally do this switch back to not Copplecam, us. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, so a couple of shout outs at the start there. Thanks to Wes and Scott for talking about us on Syntax, and thank you, Thor, for putting together an excellent little loop.
Yeah, that's very cool.
You know, there's even an opportunity, John, for a shameless plug in there, as the Syntax people like to do at the end of their podcast.
Well, we'll have to
shameless
save
plugs.
it to the end. We'll have to save our shameless plugs.
Well, I'll plug it for you very quickly because I'm going to forget. But John actually has a course with Level Up Tutorials. Scott from Level Up Tutorials, but yeah, I think it's I haven't taken it yet though, John. I've got to get a code off you or something
You do. So
because it looks real cool. It's what is it? Real-time remix, right?
yeah, so we build a real-time chat application, actually kind of similar to Happy Chat. Not as cool, not as happy.
The colors aren't as good.
And definitely doesn't have the kinds of amazing tips and tricks that you have put sprinkled throughout the Happy Chat application. But Real-Time Remix with Supabase is an awesome course to get started with Supabase and also get started with Remix. So yeah, highly recommend. Check it out.
So what you're saying is you should watch that course and all of the Happy Chat series.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Once you've exhausted the Happy Chat series and you're craving a little bit more Supabase and really want to get your teeth stuck into Remix, then yeah, you know where to go. Oh my god, we have so many things in the chat. Oh no, I just scrolled up. That's okay. Question around the room: what's your favorite web development framework and why? So I guess that's for the chat.
I don't know if I can answer that. I might get some angry comments.
Oh yeah, it's very polarizing.
It
Right?
is
Yeah.
super.
We'll leave that
Can
one.
we all just get along?
Leave that one for the chat.
I feel like the database space is a little bit more chill. Maybe there's not so much turnover,
Yeah.
so we can talk happily.
Hey, Copper,
about-
what's your favorite database
Yeah.
management system?
Yeah.
Hard question.
Yeah, that one's pretty obvious, but I don't know. Like, yeah, getting into front end frameworks is definitely dangerous territory.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I agree. We should all get along, but it would be awesome to see what the chat thinks. Paul looks chi. I'm assuming that means chill, maybe, or maybe chi is the right word. But yeah, we're gonna have to change that. So chuck in those difficult questions in the chat. And Cody is up late working on a new project with Supabase. So yeah, awesome. Make sure you tweet at us whatever you're working on. We'll definitely amplify it from our end because that's awesome. Hopefully we don't distract you too much from your important late night work. Make sure you put us on mute if we start getting a bit too ridiculous. And yeah, Alistair's the only one sitting here without a laptop.
Oh, it's all right. I've got a beer instead.
I have stolen his laptop to have off screen because I definitely need to. Yeah. Thanks, Alistair.
Yeah, no.
Not only does he bring all the gear, but then also I just take his laptop on top of my laptop.
You know, between a laptop and a beer, it's a hard choice.
Oh, we've got Jonathan coming to us from
Ooh.
Couple's home country, New Zealand.
Do you know
Which
Jonathan?
city? Yeah, and Jonathan, nice to see you again. We used to live just down the road. From you guys.
Yeah.
Now, Jonathan, let us know which city you're from, and we can see if we know it.
We have another shout out for Couple's awesome haircut. So if we just quickly
Oh yeah.
cut to Couple Cam,
Thank you.
it's looking fresh.
It's not that well. Yeah, technically,
It just falls out from
I
the
actually
stress.
have not had a real haircut for I think about 8 years now. I
Wow.
actually just cut my own hair, so
Well,
I
you're
appreciate it. I
very
never
good
get
at
so
it.
many compliments at this. Whatever happened last time obviously worked. So yeah,
That's excellent. Well, why don't we jump into some questions for Copple? The first one I've got here, I'll slowly work my way through the chat ones as well. But can you give us a little bit of a brief history about, I guess, Supabase, but also what were you doing just before Supabase and what kind of led you to this solution to your problems?
Well, yeah. So actually, originally, probably easier to talk about how I started. I was a techie sort of throughout university. I went to university in Christchurch in New Zealand, but I started contracting at the time as well. So I've just been doing tech for a long time. And actually, funnily enough, I went back, I think, for our offsite to look at a bit of a history, personal history. And I actually pitched like a millionaire in New Zealand this idea for a database company, like all the way back in like 2010 or something like that. So it's quite funny. This idea has obviously been brewing for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got into startups around 2015. Startups aren't really a thing in New Zealand. Actually, like none of my friends really know what a startup is, which is quite nice. So they just think, you know, I'm in tech. Maybe I restart some routers or build a website or something.
Fix the printer. That's what you're
Yeah. And then, yeah, so actually just by chance, I funnily enough, was about to start contracting for the Australian government on a really short-term contract. And they said, oh, you have to go away and we have to prove that an Australian can't do the job because it's not like a government job.
Right.
And so in that week, even though they'd like given me the contract, over the weekend, someone, like a friend of a friend said, oh, well, I'm building this startup in Malaysia. Why don't you come over here and start it with me? And so like that weekend, I just booked a flight and flew to Malaysia instead of starting this contract. So it was literally, could have gone either way. But yeah, I flew there and we started a business together and it went reasonably well. It's in a few countries in Southeast Asia. And then eventually moved to Singapore, where I was thinking about doing another business. I went to this thing, Entrepreneur First, and actually that's where I met a bunch of other entrepreneurs. Funnily enough, maybe 4 or 5 other people now in Supabase all went to that entrepreneurship program.
Awesome.
So yeah, I met my co-founder there, and we didn't work together, but we lived together for 1 year in this big hacker house. And we all went off and we were doing our own startups, and I was helping the country manager for my first one launch this other business. But throughout, I told him, you know, I'm going to do a DevTools business at some point. So we were kind of using the second startup to incubate what is now the tech of Supabase. And after a couple of years, I decided, well, yeah, now's kind of the time. The main impetus of the switch was that we were using Firebase for some of the stuff that we were doing. We had like an application with in-app chat, and that was Firebase, but I hit this really bizarre scaling problem of document writes, and it was getting throttled. So I migrated it over to our Postgres database, but of course, Postgres doesn't have real time. And that's the thing that really started it. So I had to rewrite. I started with quite a naive approach, which I can dig into if you want, but ended up having to write this sort of real-time engine with Alexa, which is very good for WebSockets and connections. Put it on Hack and Use. It started getting some traction. And then so I decided, well, now's the time. And I literally sat Ant down in a cafe in Singapore, and he was working on his startup, and I just pitched him the idea. And actually, the funny thing is, I knew that Ant really wanted to go to YC. So the thing that I pitched him mostly was, let's put together like a YC-friendly team, like that they can't say no to this team. and then we'll like really figure out what to do. But I like the idea really that I pitched him was like an app store for databases, and that was kind of the way I was thinking at the time. And it was a little bit more extensive. We've now scoped it right down. But he said yes, luckily. So January 2020, we started working on it. We kind of launched and got into YC in April 2020, and then went through the summer program. And of course, that's when COVID was hitting. So we've just built the whole thing fully remote, which I think for us has been like a blessing in disguise. It's been quite good.
It's been great for us here in Australia.
It's worked well for
Yeah.
anyone doing remote, basically.
Would have been a very long commute to come to Singapore every morning.
Yeah. Well, we would have had to move to the US, undoubtedly. We would have gone there for YC. We would have, raised money, and we would have been expected to stay in the Valley. So if nothing else, it's just managed to accelerate this sort of global idea that you can build a business from anywhere. You can hire from anywhere. And our company is really remote and async. And there's just zero chance we would have had the company that it is today if it wasn't for that. And I don't even think we would have been as fast. We've been able to hire people, open source contributors, working anywhere in the world, people that we hire specifically to work on open source. And of course, like when you're starting, you've got to make your money stretch. So we started with all of us were paying each other very low salaries, and it just wouldn't have worked in the Valley.
Yeah. For sure.
So it sort of was built into the ethos of Supabase as well, and it's just worked out incredibly well.
Yeah. And I guess it would have you would have been competing with trying to hire all of the people all of the tech people that work in Silicon Valley,
Definitely.
or in San Fran,
Definitely.
which might not have been the easiest on
And
restricted salaries.
People are, talented everywhere, right? There definitely is what you'll find is that maybe like in the Valley, people have seen large scale startups more than anywhere else because they really work out of there. So especially for SREs, this profile of person is very hard to hire outside. But for a lot of the things like the tooling, Postgres itself, DevRels, front-end engineers, you find very talented people outside. And we've been very lucky. Our team is by far our biggest asset. And it's just been very fortunate, the series of events that's led to Supabase now.
Yeah, totally. Thor has kind of a related question here. So how do you manage a fully remote team across so many time zones? And which is your favorite time zone?
Okay. Well, management, I think the key is that we don't really manage or try to do as little management as possible. So we try to hire people who are going to be self-managing, I think. And we try to make sure that everyone can work quite autonomously, and also that people really love async work. So, they'll be able to identify areas of the business that they can work on. They don't need too much collaboration. And that's really how it's been so far. We're getting to a stage where, we need a lot more coordination because of the number of people. And now I don't know, what are some of the practices we do? We use Notion a lot. We use Slack a lot. Although the key really is that we're kind of dividing into teams, doing weekly syncs, one sync per team per week. You record the meetings and anyone can watch it. In fact, it kind of operates a little bit like an open source community itself internally. So that's, I think, been the way that we've managed to do it so far. Whether it will scale, we'll see. But we're very deliberately trying to spread people out so that we don't, group everyone in one location and have too much synchronous work. And then on the favorite time zone, I think actually now is probably going to be situating myself kind of in Europe, because unfortunately for you guys, it means that I can spread throughout all of on the eastern side from Singapore all the way through Europe, and then on the western side from the US all the way across. So it means that I get most of the coverage with a lot of our customers and a lot of the team, the people that miss out are anyone who lives in the Pacific, the Hawaiians, who we do not yet have, and the Kiwis and the Australians.
Ooh, burning your home country right now.
We only have one Kiwi, and that, funnily enough, is my father. So we could probably avoid chatting to him too much. So
Awesome. On the while we're talking about different time zones and different places around the world, you tend to travel around quite a lot, having so many people distributed all over the place. So what's the coolest place you've visited over the last year, or maybe longer than that if you want to extend it out, before COVID times hit? And Oh, I've lost where I was. Yeah. What is your favorite place and why?
I try not to travel around quite a bit, actually, so I think it's just happened. But definitely the favorite of the past 1 year would be, well, we were all in Munich together, right? So we just did like a big company offsite, and for the first time in the history of Supabase, 2 years, we got everyone together, went to Munich, had an offsite. We just stayed in a hotel. Unfortunately, John was tied up having a baby, so apparently that's more important than meeting your colleagues, and couldn't make it. But it was a lot of fun. First of all, just meeting everyone, seeing how tall everyone is. That was ridiculous. We basically had a basketball team in Supabase, unbeknownst to us before we met them. And Alistair, I don't know if you realize on the stream, is actually ridiculously tall.
Yeah,
So you wouldn't notice it.
No.
But I don't know. Well, Alistair, you as well made it there on very short notice.
Yeah, I got a job offer on the Friday, booked a ticket on the Saturday, flew out on the Sunday, and arrived on the Monday.
Yeah.
So it was a wild ride, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait until the next one. Any spoilers on where it might be?
Well, we haven't decided yet, and actually, I don't know how we're going to decide. I wouldn't mind doing somewhere like a little bit more tropical. Would be good.
I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Munich was a little bit cold,
It's
but
very cold.
the culture of it makes up for it. Like, I guess you wouldn't really want to be eating the
It's very
food.
like comforting.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Warm food.
Warm food. It kind of feels like mountain food, so you really do want it when it's cold.
Well, I have to be honest. Like, by the end of it, I was sick of schnitzels.
Yeah,
schnitzels I had.
I don't know how they eat it every day, but their own food is interesting.
We have a one from Jonathan saying, what do you talk about in the weekly sync? So I guess this is more like, running a business that is distributed across different teams that are working on different things. What are the structures of those weekly syncs, and how long are those meetings usually?
Yep. Really, they're team-led, right? So the teams very much have a bit of autonomy on how they want to run their streams, but we're trying to make sure that all the company kind of operates on good processes. So it'll just be prioritization largely. For example, this week we've just set the goal for a future launch week. We've set the timeline, but we don't actually know what will ship on the launch week. So all the teams will go away. We just said, well, here's our priorities as a company. They'll help prioritize what the tasks will be, and the team themselves will talk about that in the weekly sync. And then we'll go away and maybe do, maybe Ant myself, and we'll check across the board, are there some ways of synchronizing all the teams to work on things, and how do we prioritize? So there's nothing really that's too structured about the meetings. And how long are they? Ideally, the shorter the better. I have noticed that some of them are quite long. So those ones I tend to watch on 2x speed.
You're watching our happy hour stream on 2x? How dare you?
This is one of the weekly things, right?
This is how we catch up
YouTube.
Across different teams.
We could do that. I heard of the Wolfram Alpha co-founder founder, I think it's just one guy, has team meetings and he live streams them. So we could probably do a couple of live streams. As long as we're not discussing, maybe not the auth team or something like that. But if we do, well, this one, I guess, is the only way we can do. So, yeah.
For sure. We've got a tech one here. So do we have any plans to introduce data replication distributed or closer to the edge to integrate better with new tools like Dino or Cloudflare workers?
Yeah. That's definitely sort of the future of Supabase and the future of data as well, right? So you would want especially reads, we're getting into sort of distributed systems, but you especially want your reads as close to the user as possible. And that one definitely seems like it's high priority for us. How we're going to do it, there are multiple options, and of course Postgres has replication, which will be bringing out a lot of this sort of more edge stuff, but there are a couple of other very interesting things coming out. I don't know if you've seen Cloudflare bringing out their SQLite, distributed SQLite as well. Fly have brought out a distributed SQLite with Lightstream. So SQLite's becoming very cool. So we'll investigate, as we always do, what could be the future of data as close to the customer as possible, and try and make sure that we come up with a very, very just a great solution for developers.
Cool. Yeah, and another real-time plug, or a shameless plug right here, that I'm currently working on an Egghead course right now that does some pushing Supabase data to the edge with Cloudflare workers and KV storage. So yeah, look out for that soon. It's going to be very cool. While we're got you on the ropes about Supabase tech things, why did it take so long to build functions into Supabase?
Well, I think first and foremost, Supabase is a database company, right? So we position ourselves like an open source Firebase alternative, but that was largely kind of a positioning tactic to really get the idea of what we were trying to achieve. But then it became clear that really everyone wanted it.
Loudly
they wanted it. And we went through several iterations. I mean, really, there is a what I see as a future state of functions, which are kind of more like apps on the edge, compute on the edge, which I really think is the future, not just like functions. And actually, that's the one that I was most keen on. And there's also WASM coming up, which is very cool. This one also, I think, is going to be the future. But then, so we did a lot of deep dive into the various implementations. And then we settled on, well, what is the right thing right now? And actually, our timing was good. If we had gone a year earlier, it would have been very hard to do our current implementation, which is now working with Dino. Dino is open source. And, it wasn't mature when we sort of started, and now it's become a very robust, very good tool. And it can fit in with our open source philosophy, which at the time when we were assessing Cloudflare workers as well, they weren't open source, and kudos to them because they've now open sourced the runtime as well, which is always great for developers. So that's I don't know, was it worth the wait? That's the real question.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think we've seen some really awesome use cases, and some very happy people building with edge functions. And just I mean, that's obviously the direction that everyone is heading, is trying to get not just compute, but data and everything you possibly can as close to your users as possible, so you don't need to waste time sending it all the way to US West from Australia and then waiting for it to come all the way back. It's it's a good time to be living in. We have Lazar joining us. What's up? He's just released an awesome Next.js course on Egghead as well. Go check that out. But Lazar is joining us. I'm assuming it's also not a great time for you where you are. So sorry about that. But here is an interesting question about our data center locations. So will Supabase expand the data center locations in the future? Some countries have a regulation for using local data centers in their country. For example, here in Indonesia. What do you think about that, Copple?
Yep. And so currently we're built on AWS, and we're limited to the data centers that AWS offer. But we definitely will go multi-cloud as well, which will allow us to expand to as many different providers as possible. And as well, like the data stuff, I think as well, there are a lot of interesting things around this data regulation, private information, how to encrypt it, or like how to obfuscate it so that you can store it anywhere. So I think we've got a lot of work to do there, but also some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, and another good option there might be to run your own instance of Supabase. So I don't know if you've checked out the local development docs, but you can just run your own instance of Supabase in a Docker container and then host that anywhere you want. So that could be a really good option.
Please, though, host the database outside of a Docker container and just run the middleware in the Docker Compose. That would be great.
Yeah.
You might be in for a nasty shock when you run a restart on Docker cluster.
Well, at least make sure the volumes are stored and backed up.
But if anything, it's a plug for using just a nice hosted platform. Really.
Yeah, and also we've got, I think we might even have someone joining to help develop these, but there are in the community some Helm charts, K8s, there's a traffic implementation. Some of the community have been developing a very robust self-hosting environment. So also, if you're interested in that and helping, get involved there, reach out to us. We'd love more contributors there.
Nice.
Cool. We've got a congrats, John, from Homie Coder. I'm assuming that's in relation to my new child. Thank you. It's very exciting times.
Yeah.
It's amazing how different it is having two children as opposed to one, because when you have one child, you and your partner can kind of split the responsibilities, and one of you can rest and the other one can take care of whatever's on fire. But that just goes out the window.
Right.
And once the kids either have the same number as you, or even worse, if they outnumber you, then you're really, really in trouble. But yeah, it's been a very, very exciting time. Paul, where can I find a co-founder who is your clone? Would you
Well, I don't know why. Well, maybe you can. And thinks very much like me. If you want to try steal him, he's always been a great co-founder. But hands off all the Supabase crew, please.
Actually, on ad, you mentioned that you pulled him away from his project that he was working on, his startup. What was that? What did you deny existing in the world?
This is actually funny because we were in the very first wave of crypto. So we actually helped launch an NFT platform together. We both worked on it, and we did a few hackathons, like in 2018 or something like that. So, and funnily enough, that was going until like 6 months before the NFT craze went up. They shut it down, and the guy, the CEO, was so burnt out that he just didn't even bother touching it.
Right.
When NFTs were going crazy. So Ant's company was this one, Crypto Squad, which is you might know how to invest in crypto, and all your family or your friends want to invest in crypto, but they don't know how. So that you would be their custodian, so to speak. So he built this platform where you could manage a portfolio for all your friends, and that was what he was working on, and it might still be going. I don't know, like in the background, but when the first crypto.
You think Ant's running two companies?
I think he just
double dipping and still running that company whilst
he's probably like a
Supabase.
multi-billionaire. We don't know it or something like that.
Well, he's actually here in the stream. He's saying who would win, Aussies or Kiwis?
At rugby, well, definitely the Kiwis. So
all I have to say is let's find out.
Happy hour Fight Club.
Yeah.
Another putting you on the spot one here. Do you guys plan on implementing more robust user management tools like Suppose Studio? Are you familiar with Suppose Studio?
Supabase.
Supabase Studio, right. Okay. Like manual user creation, updating email user details, password resets, role management.
There's two parts to this. I'm guessing they mean the users within their organization, or like the user.
I think just in the user section.
In the user,
at the moment, you can kind of just view emails. So
you can invite someone directly from the dashboard.
But that's about all you can do. Yes, is the answer probably. We've got
and password reset.
we've got.
Which maybe you can do. But to be honest, the role management stuff, password resets. Yeah, okay. So role management stuff is getting into what we're calling role-based access controls. There's many ways to do this, and we're actually dogfooding how to do it ourselves internally. And I think we'll eventually roll that out. There's so many ways to do that, and we always try to find the best, most flexible way. So, the short answer is, as Alistair says, yes. It might take time, but we'll always try to get it right.
Cool. One more from my list, and then maybe we'll, unless anyone has some really, really good ones. Actually, Anne is asking, does John have diamond hands to match his diamond hat? I don't have diamond hands, but it does say Diamond Life on the back. So sometimes when I'm feeling really, really cool, usually never mind, I won't make that joke. Let's put that back around. All right, what else we got? And then reuse management question. Yeah, so Johnny and Alistair are basically solely responsible for any UI stuff that you want to change right now. So,
Uh-oh.
So let us know if you do have any other questions. But yeah, it sounds like you can do some of that stuff, and maybe some of that is coming.
Yeah, we've got all areas of the dashboard. We've got amazing
Yeah.
features planned. If I do say so myself, it's going to be good.
All right, Copple, before we jump into our most funnest tips and tricks about Supabase and Postgres, can you tell us any secret hints for the future about Supabase or any big drops? And failing that, what are you most excited about that people already know about and we're allowed to talk about on this stream?
Everything's a secret. No, I think, well, what are the ones that are not a secret? I mean, we'll definitely do another launch week. And I mean, some of the things that we announced last time, we've got some awesome stuff coming up with the real time. For example, the multiplayer. If you haven't seen it, go to multiplayer.dev. Probably everyone on this stream sees it. I don't know if you demoed it.
Yeah, we did demo it.
Yeah.
But so if you've watched previous streams, I can actually just pull that up now because it is super cool. If you go to multiplayer.dev, this is something we are currently working on. So as part of our last launch week, we kind of hinted at what was coming, some new additions to real-time. And so if you were to jump into multiplayer.dev, you'll see, oh, is that Copple?
That's me.
That's Copple. And so we can say, hey, hello, and then we're both floating around. And rather than with regular real-time where you would be writing these bits of the state of where the user's mouse is and also what they're writing, you would be storing that in a database and then using real-time triggers or async triggers or something to be subscribing to those events and then pushing them out to everybody. The cool thing about this multiplayer.dev stuff is that we are basically going direct client to client, right? It's like peer-to-peer connections rather than going through that database. So we don't have to wait for that data to be written to the database and then read the changes and push them out to people. We can go directly from peer-to-peer.
It's not quite peer-to-peer yet, so it will pass through the middleware server, but eventually that's essentially where we will head. So you've kind of got a signaling server. It doesn't need to touch the database, so it might be able to set up, here's your peer-to-peer connection. So a bit of a coordination server, but the performance will be great, much better than sending all the way to your database.
Awesome.
Nice.
One here that I can. What's happened? We're almost there. There we go. I can take this one. So, any plans to support creating a backend tool for no-code CEOs to update and interact with their data, the likes of Retool? I would recommend checking out our integrations with Retool and Builder.io and a bunch of those other page builders and no-code tools. Because we have some really good examples out there of how you can kind of create these data-rich components and click them together and do some really powerful things. Are we going to be able to create edge functions in the dashboard? So currently our edge functions are in a
CLI? Well, you can create them via the CLI at the moment.
Yeah, so at the moment you can view logs and you can see what's going on with your edge functions. You can see a list of all your edge functions in the dashboard itself. But we haven't got the ability to create one. The CLI, the Supabase CLI, has some really, really powerful things around edge functions. Are we able to bring up the Dinoland GUI? Are you able to link that to? Because they have a nice
way of a REPL basically. Yeah. So no, you wouldn't be able to link it to your existing functions. We've got a relay in front. So unfortunately not. But it's just one that probably will be able to do a better job improving the DX even locally developing than we could do it via the dashboard.
Cool.
So once again, short answer, yes.
Yes, we're working on everything. Everything will be there one day, and everything is possible. Thor has shouted out that we need to add Retool to the partner gallery, which is an excellent place for you to check out any other integrations that we have. So if you go to supabase.com/partners, you can check out a list of different dev tools. You can check out some low-code tools that we have here. So AppSmith, Clutch, DraftBit, Teta, and Plasmic. So yeah, recommend checking those out and seeing how that can be integrated together with your Supabase instance. All right, I think it's time for us to go through some fun tips and tricks and get to a little bit of coding for this stream. So we have had a think about our favorite tips and tricks that are either Supabase related or Postgres related. And we were thinking that it would be cool to show you, rather than like integrating a full application, like each of these things could be an entire series of streams by themselves. We just wanted to like very quickly fire at you our favorites, our top 3 favorites. So who wants to go first?
Ooh.
Is it
Scissors, paper, rock?
We can go around in a circle.
Yeah, we can go.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One after the other.
We'll flip a 3-sided coin.
Okay. I can probably go first. I can go first. And how are we doing it? Are we?
I think you've got to share your screen there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one. By the way, I love when we are sharing a screen, there's double couple on the side. You know, you just...
Yeah. Okay.
And then I can add this one to the stream. So make sure you don't have anything.
Yeah.
Anything you don't want the whole world to see. And do we want double couple on the side? No.
Probably
All
not.
right. We're gonna pull out couple cam, and you can just see the 3 of us.
Okay.
And is there an even
Better
better?
make sure.
That's
That's
probably nice.
cool, yeah. How is the WeWork Wi-Fi holding up with us streaming though?
Oh yeah,
I
that's
didn't think about that. Yeah, let us know in the chat if if it's unbearably choppy or anything as you're watching. I'm assuming not because it hasn't been shouted out yet. But yeah, please let us know if we are having any tech problems that we don't even know about, because we're having enough that we do know about.
Yeah. Okay, so my first tip is going to be common table expressions, which are really just John, have you seen CTEs yet?
I actually haven't.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. This is going to be a good one because it's actually just a way to write SQL, which is just very tidy and it cleans up queries. So what I've got here is a table that I've downloaded from a thing called GeoName, and it's got a bunch of Kiwi, New Zealand places, which is cool, and it's got the latitude, longitude, the type. So a P is a city, and you can see country, and maybe like lat long, which I put into a geometry. So that sets the scene. What we can do here then is, actually, I didn't even think what I'd actually query, but let's say we wanted to write a query where we get like a few different, I don't know, like, okay, so let's say, first of all, we've got a select everything from GeoName.
Nice. Do you also want to bump up Zoom? Just
Okay.
we love, this is the other
Okay,
thing
is that
that,
good?
Yeah.
that we yell at Johnny for in the stream is the Zoom DY.
Okay, so we might be able to, first of all, like this is going to get, I'm just going to get all the places which are like cities, for example. And that was the F class P, I think it was.
P, yeah.
So I can do this thing where I go with, and then I can name this query. So I'm going to get everything first of all. So I'm going to say data as, and then I'm going to select all the data from a table. And then I can go select everything from data where autocomplete where if class, I think was class equals P, and hopefully there you go. So the reason why this is useful is because probably what usually happens is you have a ton of nested queries. So you're trying to get maybe all the cities, and then from all the cities, you want to get only the like top population or something like that. So I can clean it up so that other people can read my code. So I'll say with cities, and I only want to get the cities here, and I'll put this here. Okay, so now I've only got the cities, and then I can say select everything from cities where population is greater than we're very 10,000. Let's see, there's probably not that many. Okay, yeah, there's a few.
Oh,
There's a few. Let's say 100,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. There's actually
Wellington, Auckland,
almost 10 of
Hamilton.
them. Yeah, which is great. So the other thing is that you can really just chain as many of these as you want. So I can say with let's say I think there's another one with like I could say large cities as here, and essentially it's kind of like setting up variables. That's how I think about it. And I'll put this one here, and you can join these data, and you'll see from this one I'm actually querying the cities table. The cities table
or the geo name table
from
Just have to update it.
sorry from cities. Okay. And then so I can set up this variable, and then I can query this variable, and then I can finally select everything. And you can keep doing this as many times as you want.
Double where?
From cities. I can keep doing this as many times as I want, and it's kind of like just smooths out your code, and instead of having these huge nested queries. And then Postgres goes away and kind of does this optimization behind the scenes, so it actually works quite nicely. You don't need to worry about optimizing your code. It'll run the optimizer in the background.
That is so cool. Yeah, much more readable than that would be if you were doing a whole bunch of nested selects. And that's awesome. That's very cool.
Next time you're writing like a big block of SQL and just like what is going on, just remember this and go, I can probably break some of this out into a CTE, and it will. It's way nicer.
That is awesome. And I think I feel like I have seen the word common table expression either in our docs or our blog. Was there a blog or a docs page written about this one?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. It's possible.
Let me just quickly share my screen because I think, docs, Supabase, common table expression, just because I think there is something that goes into this.
I can't remember writing it in there. It might have been a blog post SQL too.
Oh no, that's not us. All right,
we'll get it in there though.
I'll find it. I'll put it in there. But yes, that is very cool. That's awesome. See, this is I learned so much by doing these streams. I feel like most of my job I spend on the front end side of things, and then when we jump into these examples, I just get the most amazing little SQL deep dive hints. It's awesome. A quick one in between our tips and tricks. We've got Grant saying, "Hey, my team question is whether we should go ahead on new projects using a few experimental features like functions. How confident can I be telling them Supabase got your back?" So what I would say about this one is that a lot of the things that say they're experimental in the Supabase dashboard is actually referring to our UI around creating that. So for example, our async triggers are our currently named
function hooks.
Function hooks gets me every time. So function hooks, which will soon be renamed, I believe. There's a task. Will be renamed to async triggers. So function hooks say
experimental.
Or even a better example would be Postgres functions and Postgres triggers. Above that section in the Supabase dashboard, it says that these are experimental, when really what we're doing is we're just creating a UI layer on top of Postgres functions, which are very, very, very stable and have been around for decades. And there's absolutely no risk of that not being stable or things changing. The thing that is experimental that you might see some unexpected changes is just around the UI that we have wrapping that thing. So we might change the fields that are available in there or the names of different things. We might change something from being called function hooks to async triggers, for example. And so those kinds of UI changes you might see. Another good example of this is like our edge functions are wrapping around Dino, and so Dino itself is very stable. I believe it's stable, right?
Yeah, it's pretty stable.
Yeah.
It's post 1.0.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. It doesn't have the beta tag on it, and so again, our edge functions are wrapping around that. So once you've created that function, that exists off in Dino land, and so very stable to use that. It's just our UI around it and what you can do from the Supabase end may change. So here's one for Alistair. Is it possible to make a user ID as a string instead of a UUID so that another authentication service can smoothly integrate?
I don't think so, right? Not at the moment, no.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, actually, the Clark team were asking about this. They have a different type of GUID, actually, rather than a string.
Right.
But the UUID4, which actually is, I guess, a decision that we've made, or in fact, it was made by Netlify. In theory, it could be changed, but I just highly would not recommend touching that. We'll try work with the Clerk team to make sure that we've got some solution there. But I think it's going to be probably them matching their GUIDs to our UUIDs.
Sure. I read this incorrectly. I was thinking that it was like, can you have any ID type as something other than an integer or a UUID, which, obviously you could have on other tables. It's just if you're using the auth.users table.
So it's only if you want to use rauth and clerk's auth at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you want to just use clerk but still use Supabase, that is supported because you can use your own table, which you can control the ID type of. Definitely.
There's nothing as well preventing, we set up an auth schema, but there could be a clerk schema, for example, which is just doing exactly the same concept, but with the clerk native implementation. So that's very doable.
Awesome. And
yes,
Michelle.
This is Mike Pelletier from the Supabase team.
Right. So CTEs can also be recursive and walk foreign keys as graph edges.
That's a good layup, I think, for Alistair to.
All right. Yeah, I was going to expand on Copple's example, so you set me up perfectly there.
Yeah, recursive. Show us a recursive walk on.
We'll give it a go. Here we go. So, I'll try not to bang the mic, but let's see how we go with. So I'm going to be using a different table called topics, and this topics table is essentially based off of a syllabus, the International Baccalaureate Computer Science syllabus. So just to go over this is a real problem I had in one of my own apps. So essentially you've just got a label, which is, I'm sure you've all been to school, hopefully. Then you've got the title of that point on the syllabus. And then you've also got a parent ID. So you can see in the label, this is kind of hierarchical data. So I'll see if there's like a D3 or D1.10 or whatever. Most of them are numbers, but you can see we've only got 384 points in here. So say I wanted to get the very first one. So we'll just do a new query. And we'll just start off by saying select star from topics where ID equals, or maybe not the ID, let's do the label is just 1. So we'll get the very top level topic. So say I had a requirement in my app that I needed to show this first level topic and then all of the topics underneath it. So we'll stay with our first topic and then we will use our CTE syntax again, but add...
I've seen this before.
Yeah. We'll add the recursive keyword with recursive. So maybe I'll just say all topics.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the first part of the query is your starting condition. So this part of the query runs once. So what I might do is just leave that there for a second, and then we'll write, we can use union or union all. Use union all if you can, I think is the general advice, because union has a little bit more performant, like it has to do diffing and stuff. I didn't really know. If you use union all and see duplicate results, switch to union. That's my advice.
Okay.
Then we can do another. Oh, wow, caps lock is on.
What does union do? Can you quickly?
So with union, you can write two queries, chuck union in between them, and if you remember back to maths in high school, it just puts them together. If you remember the Venn diagrams, union is both Venn diagrams.
Okay.
So if you return 10 results in one, that's 5. 5 results in one. 5 results
If we
in
remember
another.
back to maths, you said.
Then it would just, yeah, exactly. Just good thing we got 10.
So yeah, the first part of our query is our base case, and then the second half, I keep switching caps lock on. Do you know why it is? I've remapped my caps lock to escape.
Oh, no.
So because it's so much more convenient to hit caps lock to go escape. So we're doing topics again. I might need to do some
Aliasing.
yes, aliasing is the word I'm looking for.
Disambiguate your queries.
And then we can do a join. So we can call this like T1 and T2. We can even do this here. Here we go. I'm doing this is you got to help me out here for the join bit. Join T1 on T1 dot no join. We can do T2 dot parent. I'll be floored if this works first time. I don't think it will. Equals T1 dot ID. And then after our, here we go, caps lock you can see how in my muscle memory it is. Are we seeing any problems? Is that join syntax correct?
Oops.
Yeah. How do you do joins in SQL?
Like that.
Yeah.
Unless you need to, though, yeah, you don't need to specify a.
It's near your select.
Does union all need a semicolon or anything after it? Are these separate queries like that?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Here's how we solve problems in real life. Recursive queries Postgres. Learn Postgres recursive queries by example.
Perfect.
Yep, so that, or did I just miss as?
Oh, right, it was the first select that it was saying.
T1 does not exist, it's my join.
That's progress.
No, we're making progress. Inner join subordinates E. Oh, that's not the right tab. T1.
Join T.
No.
Yeah, that's.
I'm because we're aliasing, or maybe we select from this part.
Maybe Mike's watching.
Yeah.
Does he have a suggestion?
It's the join. Do they have a join in here? That's the bit that's going wrong. It's the subordinates example again.
This has only been done once.
Inner join subordinates on, yeah. So where are they referencing?
What was the error from?
T1 does not exist. Join topics again.
Yeah, topics on T1 dot. Just remove that one and remove T2. Yeah, and let's do topics on T2 dot parent. No, topics dot parent ID equals T1 dot ID.
Ooh.
See if this works. Table name topics specified more than once. From topics T1, select everything from topics. Join. I thought you had prepared.
I'm going to reference my notes. My notes are on. Let me just.
This is
Here we go. Off screen, I could be doing anything. This is. Oh no, that's not what I want.
And actually, there's a very cool example of this. If you look up, actually a contributor, Lawrence C. Chen, he's created. So a really common use case for this is like comments.
Oh.
Like if you write,
Oh.
let's say you've got a comment thread,
yeah,
and then you can like reply to a comment. Then how do you store that in your database? You probably just want to store like a list of comments, and then it's just got a parent, right? But then when you return it, you want it to be like nested in between, like all the way down. So do you write a query which selects the parent and then another one that selects the parent?
Yeah, right.
So it's a recursive, right? You want it to
Yeah.
go all the way down as deep as it needs to go. And that's the usual use case.
Right.
And you can find it online. If you look up Supabase threaded comments, Lawrence has built a full example
Right.
with the recursive view, and you can see how it works.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll add that to the description of the video. It looks like
We've done
he's
it.
done it. He's done it.
done it.
Stalled long enough, everybody.
So I'll explain what was going on. We were forgetting the most important part, the recursive part. So because it's recursive, we can reference the CTE
Okay.
within the within the CTE. Yeah, look, Michelle's got it. Of course. we just didn't wait long enough. But that is
That's awesome. So take us through one more time now that we've kind of like diverted around. So what is this? What is this?
Well, yeah.
query
So
doing
we'll
to
just
you?
go through the result really quick. You can see that all of the topics here are a part of the first point.
The first one. So, for example, label 1 is like our course curriculum 101, right? And then you go down and like the second one has got the parent 1.1 belongs to
Right.
curriculum 1, system fundamentals.
We can see on the parent IDs actually. So this one is B24. These two are B24,
Yeah.
and then
that's
we're
awesome.
going down.
And then 1.2.15 belongs to 1.2.
Right.
So like you've got this threaded structure all the way
Yeah.
down, but the data is stored as a flat
Right.
file.
So like a big graph, but from a relational database.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like where in my very simple apps that I create for my Supabase examples, like where I can fit this in. But yeah, that is
Definitely, like for example, if you turned Happy Chat into like threaded
that's true.
chat,
Yeah.
then
Threaded
you'd be
chats.
like you can respond to anyone, go back up, and then you definitely need to build a recursive.
Totally.
Yeah. I'm actually going to keep going on my second
Oh, okay,
example
absolutely,
because
yeah.
I'm in the right spot. We've
Okay.
found a good spot for it. So if I now order by not the admin, that's autocomplete, going again, the label, we should see another little problem pop up. And that is, it looks good, 1.1, 1.1, 1.1, but then instead of going to 1.1.2, we're going to 1.1.10 because this is a string, so it's using the normal string comparison operator. So I'm going to show you the solution I came up with, and this time, so we don't go wrong, could you pull up my notes, please, John? Maybe.
Wait, there's these notes?
Yes, those. Although they're a bit far away
Okay,
for me to
big.
see, but yeah, make it bigger. That's the
For everyone watching the stream, we're not cranking up the text of the solution.
yeah. So,
Alistair's just recursively digging deep into his memory
which is over
to
there.
find. His memory's just over here, and then he will recursively pull out the value.
Nice. So what I want to do is if we just look at 1.1.1, the string first, we're going to use some pretty cool. Basically, where we're going to end up is having a new column which is generated from our label column with the correct sort order. So along the way, we'll see some pretty cool Postgres functions. So let's just start by splitting up. If you go over in my memory.
I'll just scroll over to the right of your memory.
So reg express. So we'll start with a split to table is the first function we want to use. So say we've got 1.1.1 as our example one. And then we're going to use a regular expression or something with the E. What are these called? Sigils or something?
Yeah.
So it's like a shorthand function call to a regex expression? As in, like, will this return you a proper regex expression with what's in the string?
This is going to apply the regex to the label 1.1.1, and then it'll convert it into a table. So like here now, the results are returned as a table.
I might actually do 1.1.10, so we can see where that. So you can see we've split that up into 3 rows. Then what I'm going to do is I want to make, because at the moment when we compare 1 to, if we run this query again, when we compare this end 1 to the 2, it's actually comparing them in order. So if we instead pad it with a bunch of zeros on the front, it will then move this one all the way to the back, or the two, and make it in the proper order. So it sounds a bit weird, but hopefully you'll be able
You'll
to.
see it. When
You'll see it.
Okay. All right.
You'll see it.
Anytime I see left pad, I start just sweating and panicking because of the npm stuff. But let's see what the very safe Postgres left pad does.
Which isn't a library that can't be suddenly
Yeah, it
removed. So if we use the left pad function, you can now see we've padded it. So I'm just doing 5 places. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, 5 places, and then all the remaining ones I'm just going to pad with zeros. Then now we've got these. I want to essentially join it all back together. So at the moment we're returning it in 3 rows. So I'm going to around that whole select. You have to scroll back over. We're going to go to an array, and then we're going to. So now if I run select again, we'll keep going in steps. We should have an array of, so now we've only got 1 result, we're making progress, and then finally, array to string. Postgres has great functions.
Yeah.
And with a bit of luck,
No.
array to string.
Text string. It's a text array.
Do you need another text
Oh.
at the end? Another.
Select LP.
We need a join operator. So we
Yeah.
want to join them with an empty, with no space in between.
Right.
So we end up with this. And-
Binary. We end up with a binary code.
Well, we
giving
can-
us the secret
Yeah,
to
that will
Supabase.
work.
If you put this code in, you
So-
unlock all the pro tier without payment, right?
Now we've padded all of these strings with the correct amount of zeros. They're much more consistent to compare. So if we set this up into a little Postgres function, and I've called this derive label sort from label. This is going to take a label that's of type text, and we're going to use that label in here instead of our hard-coded value. It returns some text, and then we do as. We can even put a semicolon there just to be good. Language SQL, and we can say this is immutable because given the same label argument, it will always return the same thing. It's not reading from any table, so that's a nice little performance optimization we've got there.
So does immutable mean it will just so if you didn't have that, it would just create the function once, right? But then if you do immutable, does it remember the return value that you got?
I'm not actually sure what optimizations it does,
A
but I
performance
know
optimization.
it does
That's
some.
Sure.
So let's create that. So hopefully now we've created that function. If we, instead of writing out that whole big thing, if we do 2.1.10 again, we should, again with the single quotes, you can see even in Postgres, strings are single quotes. Perfect, there, we're back to where we started, but we've wrapped that up into a nice little function. So now we're getting into the magic. We're going to add a generated column. Yeah, that's what they're called, to our topics table. So I'm going to call this label sort because that's mainly what we're going to be using it for. It's going to be text, and we're going to put a not null constraint on it. And then here's where the magic happens. We say generated always as, and then we put some parentheses, and then we call our function with the label column. So that's coming from the topics table here. And then we say stored, and I said not null again, but I don't think that's necessary. So let's run that.
So on the fly, is this creating a new table that doesn't exist in the database? It just exists kind of in memory, and then it's also now altering that table and adding a column to it?
So you can see it's actually just on our topics table.
Oh, right.
We added this new column, and whenever we update the value in the row, it's automatically going to recalculate, because we said always,
Right.
our generated value. So now we've got this label sort column in
In
our
front end speak, it's kind of like a view computed field. You know, you can
Right.
compute from 2 things.
Right.
And so when you select that property and it's computed from 2 other things, that's essentially what it's doing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, label sort we're going to do instead of label. Let's see what we get. Hopefully we get 1.1.1, and look at that. It's
Damn.
working beautifully.
Nice.
And we could even, just because, OCD, not really, but, well, we don't even need the parent ID. We could just make it a lot nicer like that. There you go. And there you have the proper 1. And then we go 1.1.10. We go all the way through. There's 1.2. And we have the perfect sort order.
That is very cool. Very, very cool. And Jonathan is saying, Bra, how many beers have you had to come up with this code? that was definitely on the advanced side of
how many people are still with us?
Yeah, that's right. How many do we lose? No, we will definitely. That is one that I think we definitely need to chop up into a snippet and put up. That is very cool.
A long snippet.
Yeah, very long snippet. Yeah, snippet XL. And Mike has helped us out that immutable indicates that the function cannot modify the database and always returns the same result when given the same argument values.
And maybe, Mike, if you're there, there's a stable as well. So I would be curious what
I think I'm going to put in a guess before he gets back to us. Stable is for a function that only reads but does not modify the database.
Yeah.
But immutable doesn't even read from the database. It
Doesn't
literally
even
just
read.
does some functions like we did. And then volatile, you can read, write, do whatever you like. It's volatile.
Make changes.
That's my guess.
Yeah.
We'll see if I got it
We'll
right.
see
or
if
not.
Mike comes back with.
Right. Yeah. So one is, if we go functional programming speak, one is like a pure function that doesn't have any side effects.
Definitely.
Yeah, pure function. That's the immutable, yeah.
Okay. Yes, I did it.
Nice.
I said some words and I was right about it instead of the other words that I kept saying that I wasn't quite right about. So now I get it.
It's the broken clock. We're just going to keep saying words. And
Yeah, that's right. All right. So I guess it's my turn to go through one of mine. Now, if that, was a little bit more beyond your depth of how comfortable you are with Postgres, then don't worry. My examples are going to be much more on your level, hopefully. So I guess I'll now take
have 2 laptops.
3 laptops instead of 2 laptops. I've now got Copple's laptop, Alistair's laptop, and my laptop. Actually, no, I just realized I need users for this one. So I'm gonna pull up that happy chat online. It's all good. I can do it from here.
We've got an answer for our burning question.
All right.
Stable indicates that the function cannot modify the database and that within a table scan, it will return the same result for the same argument values, but could change across SQL statements.
Mm.
I said half of that.
Some of those words. But
Yeah.
something that some of us
I said the first part, maybe. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. And Dante says, can you recommend a tutorial to learn Postgres? Don't feel like understanding that is like the
requirement.
yeah, that is not
definitely.
understanding Postgres or like what the level that you need to get to use Postgres. That's the level that people at Supabase need to get to write very advanced Postgres to make it much easier for the rest of us to just use Supabase as abstracting away the scary database stuff. But rest assured, people with as much knowledge as Alistair are the ones behind your projects at Supabase.
No, I'm actually not even that. I'm envious of like some of the Postgres guys on the team. Are just like, I look at Ollie put all of GraphQL into Postgres.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
like
That is amazing.
I'm just on the medium tier.
Yeah.
There's like that's one of the reasons I joined Supabase, come and steal all of their knowledge on Postgres.
Yeah. You tried to make an offer to pull the employees away.
Yeah.
They weren't having it, so you're like, all right, I'll come join Supabase instead. And Afsa is saying that Postgres documentation is the best way to learn Postgres. So yes,
It
I
is
the
actually
docs.
super good. When you first start looking at how they kind of write out all the queries, it can be quite confusing, but like the way they do optional arguments and stuff. But once you've looked at it for a while and got your head around it, it's actually super helpful.
All right. And Homie Code is saying there is no tutorial for the magic he just dizzied us with. So maybe Alistair should create some tutorials showing some very advanced Postgres things.
Oh dear.
Or
Or just join into happy hour.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, just join us every week, and you get a little snippet each time. All right. So my one, I'm going to unshare your screen. gonna share me and do that thing again. And let's pull up my ridiculous number of examples again. And I will do this on Happy Chat, the happiest chat
Yeah.
that there is.
So happy I'm contemplating getting another beer. But...
Oh, that could be good. Do you think as well I could have a wee break? While
Well, do you want to go and then bring back some more?
Okay,
beers?
okay, I can do
Yeah,
that.
there you go.
You got to
Just sending the CEO out to just fetch us more
Yeah,
drinks.
yeah. Okay.
That would be amazing. Thanks, Cops. All right, so
Can I go Furfies this time?
Yeah.
Thank you. Look at that.
ginger
Service.
beer for me. Thank you. So I often, I'm just going to make sure this is sharing. Yes, it is. So I think a lot of people end up hitting a problem when they're using Supabase auth and building their own database schema. That at some point they're like, I want to just like grab into the auth.users table. And you might hit a point where you realize that when you're using Supabase JS, like our Happy Chat application is, so we're using Supabase JS in our Next.js application, and that's talking to our Happy Chat instance in Supabase. In Happy Chat, we've already solved this problem because we built a profiles table. And so we have this separate profiles table where we are writing the data from our, anytime we create a new profile, so anytime a new user registers for our Happy Chat application, we go and have a trigger that calls a Postgres function that creates a new user in our profiles table with that user's ID and then some additional information that we want to keep about our user. And that's the right way to go if we want to keep additional data about our user. But if you don't actually need to keep anything additional about them, if you've already got all of the data that you need and you just want to be able to tie into the auth.users table from Supabase JS, you can use a view. Well, this is just one use case for a view, but I've been using views recently and they have just been awesome. And so wanted to share their awesomeness with you.
Yeah, I should say, if you do want to see us set up that trigger, if you want to see the other way of doing this, John's going to show you one way now. I think it was the first video we did on the Happy Chat series. So go to, this is Happy Hour number 5. If you go back to Happy Hour number 1, then you should be able to see that. And yeah, we had a lot of fun in that one. It was a good one.
We did. This will load in a second. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's we were kind of nervous before the stream, I should say, because Route 53 on AWS was having some DNS issues, and I know we don't have to cast our mind back very far to remember the Facebook ones. Do you remember where they had to?
Oh
cut
yeah,
into?
yeah,
That was
yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah, it is, and it is always DNS.
It's always DNS. So luckily, it's been working very well so far. But yeah, we had a moment there where we were worried, to say the least.
So to kind of, maybe if that kind of tangent didn't make too much sense, this is our messages table. So each time a user writes a message, it's going to be written to this messages table, and it's going to have an associated profile ID, which links to our profiles table, but this ID also links to our auth.users table. So if I wanted to be able to pull out the user's username along with all of our messages, I can do that creating a view. And so the way that we create a view is we say create or replace.
I'll create or replace, make things a lot easier.
It is very, very nice. So yeah, if this is the first time we're running this, it's going to create the view. If we've already created this in the past, then it's going to replace it with whatever our new definition is. So then we can give this a name. So let's say this is messages, and then we want our messages to also contain some information about our user. We can then say as, and we can do a subquery where we can say select. And what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to say select star from matters.
Messages. And we can even just use the profiles table we just showed, right? We don't have to use the direct, seeing as we've got it there.
But we've already got access to it in
I know, but it's like a nice bundled up way.
All right.
I think it's a simple example because then we're diving into JSON and stuff otherwise.
All right. So if I just wanted to do this at this point. All I'm really doing is creating a view that wraps around just a select statement. So this doesn't really do much. But the way that I can call our view is if I create another query here, I can say select and then call messages with user. That's not a function. Messages with user.
And you need a star. You can
Select everything.
You can treat, basically the nice thing about views is they're very kind of, the way you use them is very similar to how you use a table, but it's just like a custom table that you set up, which is,
so I
do
can
all sorts with.
Yeah, I can do any kind of SQL-y stuff on top of this. So I can say, well, I only actually care about the content. So I can just pull out the content. But if I wanted to go and get the users that are associated with this message or some of the data about the user,
I think, well, so if you select everything again, I've got a good idea here. So at the moment, you can see we just get a profile ID. But say we didn't want to do, even though post, like it's a bit of a contrived example, is that the word I'm looking for? Where say we didn't want to do a join, even though Supabase JS makes it really easy, thanks to Postgres with the T, to join in that profile data. Say for whatever reason, we just wanted the username field to be there right on the end, like after room ID. So we could add that, we could do the join within the view so we don't have to do it later.
It's an excellent idea. All right, so we're going to select from messages, and then we could do our join for our profile.
Yeah, profile, it's nice.
Username.
I think join profiles on.
Join profiles on profiles.username.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems that we're both having problems with the join part of our code today, John.
Equals, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Profiles.id is equal to our messages.id.
Maybe the profile ID in the messages table.
Yeah, profile ID instead of messages.id,
Yes.
messages.profile ID. And then I think we also probably just want to, in our select star, we just want to select profiles. So we can select star and then comma and just select the profiles.username.
Right.
Mm.
So we're just kind of, no, you're not convinced?
Let's try it.
Well, now I'm nervous.
And we could just alias this to username as well.
Yep.
So that makes a little bit more sense in our column names. Column ID relations messages with user already exists.
Messages.star?
No. It's just because select star is still selecting all the columns from both tables, and both tables have an ID. So now it doesn't know which one to do. So yeah, correct. Messages.star and profiles. Yeah, awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome. And then if we want to call that again, we get back all of these different things. Now, in this case, you would be able to pull this out of with Supabase JS because this is in the public schema. Whereas if you did want to reach into that auth.users table, just as like so you have a nice little copy and paste version of this, if you would like to use it. Actually, we don't. Oh yeah, because we wrote that to. Yeah, so this is how you create a view. So this is, a view just allows you.
We could do something interesting. We could also, say we wanted to change this data in some ways. We just didn't want the username. So we wanted the all uppercase username. Very useful, I know. But that might be a useful use case here.
Yeah.
So any hints on the uppercase function in Postgres?
Is it
There you go.
upper?
So we'll, instead of profiles.username, maybe if we just wrap that in a call to upper.
This one?
Yeah.
So we want to convert this to upper. So this will get back the value of the column, and then we're passing that into the function upper, and then we're giving it the alias username.
Nice.
Which doesn't work. Cannot change data to because we used a case insensitive text.
Yeah.
Yes, might be.
But that's kind of a funny one because
It's a view.
can you, after profiles.username, can you just cast it to text there? So yeah. It really doesn't want to, does it? I'm sure there's a CI text to text function.
Or maybe the upper function is not correct. strange, yeah, that it doesn't.
Because it CI text, again, I think this was the first video as well. We talked about how CI text was useful because it still maintains the case when you're looking at it. So to users, they can have fancy casing in that user name. But when you do comparison operators, it doesn't compare it with a case. This is no help whatsoever. That looks like...
Perhaps even the upper, just confirm that the upper function is correct. Either way, we're getting very far from doing a view. Oh, here's how you use views, by the way, is the upper function. Yeah.
Well, we've seen a few interesting functions, but that's how you would do it if you weren't using CI text. I'm sure. Any comments on bright ideas in the chat? Someone might have worked it out.
Yeah.
No. Unlucky.
They will while we do the next example.
Yeah. But the important thing here is that a view just allows us to kind of wrap around a query that we want to run in our database. And so previously in other videos that I've created, I've gone, I can't do this thing in Supabase JS. And so I'm going to create a Postgres function that allows me to then use RPC, which is what we did in a previous happy hour stream. So we could use RPC to call that Postgres function from our client. And then that Postgres function would have access to all of the different schemas and be able to do, it would be able to do things that maybe our Postgres.js instance wouldn't be able to do. And so a view is can actually cover a lot of those use cases by being able to create a view around something that you want to run on your database.
Perfect. We do have a blog post on this one, actually.
We do.
I saw a few people asking about or didn't know about views, so I probably should migrate it to the docs because it's a bit hard to find. But
yeah, that's actually good. So you can get really crazy with views and like call functions and things on there. So I did use a generated column for my last example, but you could do exactly the same thing with a view calling that same function that we wrote to get the padded out sort string.
Yeah.
Most useful, I think, generally when you're wanting to join lots of data together, then it would be a view. So if you see that your supabase.from select is getting nested, often then that's the point where you just want to put it directly into a view on the database, and then you can just do select everything from the name of the view. So it just puts your logic in your database rather than sitting on the client.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is that Supabase JS treats it like a table now. And so from Supabase JS, you can actually query like you can any other table. You can query from a view, and then you can still apply those same filters and those same sorts and all of the other things that you can do with results coming back from a table, which is very, very cool.
One thing to keep in mind with views, if you're using RLS, when you create them, they get run with the same permissions as the user that created them. So usually when you create them from the dashboard, like we just did, it will be running as the admin. So it will effectively bypass RLS.
Yeah.
So watch out for that one.
Make
Make sure to put in where clauses or update the owner of the view to the authenticated user or the anon user, depending on what permissions you want to give it.
We will be changing that, by the way. So actually, in the one worth mentioning, pretty soon in Supabase, there will be not just one schema, there will be 3 schemas. So currently there's a public schema. Soon we'll be bringing out a protected schema and a private schema. This is just to help developers know where they should be storing their data and how they should be adding permissions. So it's obvious that a lot of people are sort of making things too public with the public schema, which is understandable and maybe not always applying row-level security. So we'll create these very locked down schemas that just really help to make it clear where the data is accessible and isn't by default.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I didn't know that was coming, but I'm ready for that. That's great.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Did we want to run through one more?
I think, Michelle is just killing it with the Postgres facts. Maybe.
All right.
Yeah,
a cool fact about views is that Postgres expands them into a single query. It's not like the view making a subquery. The query optimizer rewrites the view, replacing inner references with tables. Damn.
Magic. It's pretty cool.
That is very, very cool. Did we want to run through one more, or did we want to look through some questions
Yeah.
and wrap it up.
There's
Another really good one, Postgres 15 will have a security invoker. Yeah. So these ones, if you've seen on the functions, if you're using RPCs already, you can either put a security definer. Definer means the person who defined the function, like created it, or security invoker, the person calling the function. And so it looks like they're going to propagate that through to views as well, which is great. That's a huge win.
No, it's great because I'm glad you explained that, because every stream we run into that and John explains it every time.
Oh, really?
Even when I'm like talking about, hey John, can you explain this again?
Yeah.
It's a good
It's my
one.
moment to shine.
It's a really good one to know, because it does, you look at it and you're like, security invoker, definer, what's going on?
Yeah.
So yeah, good one to know.
What is what did we have? So we didn't do, I think, I've already got actually on mine prepared the Postgres. So
Do you wanna do
Well,
it?
that's a cool one
it's
to
very
do.
fast.
It is a
Yeah.
very
And
cool one to go
I
through.
feel like it's going to be, it's very short. So,
Alright, let's give it a go. I'll
Okay, so I
share
need
your
to-
screen again.
all right. So I prepared here, of course, just a reminder for this, for the data. So you have the context. Here are all the places in New Zealand. Apparently there's 68,000 places in New Zealand.
A lot of places.
And it's a huge country, and it's got it's one of the largest countries in the world by sheep population, and it's got this lat long, and so I went to university in this place called Christchurch. The beers are getting to me. Can't remember. It was many years ago.
It's indeed a place.
So, yeah. If we let my computer load. So, all right. I think I've got the most populated cities. So here is one, for example. We're getting the most populated cities. Here is Christchurch. It's the third most populated city. And it's got this ID, 2192, that was made up by this GeoNames database. So actually, it's got all the places in the world, this GeoNames database. I've just loaded New Zealand only. So what Postgres does, or actually it's a good question, like if you're watching this, how would you decide what is the closest city to Christchurch? And it's actually an extremely hard problem because the world, first of all, is not just a flat space. You can't just take
Really? I thought it was.
Yeah, very well. Unless you're a flat
Are you sure?
flat earth, it
Isn't
could be,
it,
but I'm not sure. I'll go up on a plane one day and I'll try.
You think frameworks are a touchy topic? Let's not get into flat earth.
Okay, this is going to get a lot longer than I expected. But actually, determining the distance between 2 points is very hard, especially when you start putting it on a cube or a sphere or like all sorts of different shapes. So there's this extension inside Postgres called PostGIS, and GIS stands for Geographical Information System, I think, something like that. And it's one of the most popular, in fact, I would probably say it's the most popular spatial extension in the world. So it really can be done for anything spatially, any geometries, if you just wanted to, say what is the distance on a sphere. But it's particularly useful inside real-world applications where you want to measure distances between 2 points on a globe, which is also a sphere, right? And so you can answer questions like, okay, within a square kilometer, how many Ubers are inside this 1 square kilometer right now? Or like of this Uber, like for the past 7 days, how far did it travel across all these points? And these are quite, if you were writing them into your code, there would be extremely long functions to write when you start as well putting in the shape of the earth. But this is all built directly into Postgres. So that query that we said, well, what is the nearest city to Christchurch? I know here that I've got a geometry. I've converted this to a geometric point on the lat long. I just converted it to a geometric point, which is a data type. And then I can start saying something like here, this one, for example, here's the ID. So I know if I just take this, here is the ID. So I'm going to, first of all, select, this one's just Christchurch here. And then I want to know what is the nearest city to Christchurch. So I'm going to select everything from that table, which is a city. This is class P as a city.
Familiar?
I'm going to remove Christchurch because it will just find the nearest city as itself, of course. So I don't want to say that. And then I'm going to order by the geometry, which is the lat long converted to a geometric point. But then I've got the special one. And actually, if you have done full text search, you might recognize this. This is a distance operator. So it's going to it's going to order them by the distance closest to Christchurch. And then I'm going to limit to 3. So I can actually find the 3 nearest cities to Christchurch. And that's it. Like I can really just run this, and that gives me the 3 closest cities, or I can change it to 5. And suddenly this very, very sophisticated query becomes just, a few lines inside a Postgres database.
So cool.
The other very cool thing is,
awesome.
We use Postgres. I think I might be able to terminal. Can I do this? Yeah, I need to.
Swipe up again. Or
Yeah, okay. Can I do a... Yeah, well, maybe I can't do it, but...
have you got the terminal in your dock?
Uh,
Because if you just go on your, and then if you go back over, and then just right click on your terminal and do new window, it should open in this one.
new window?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Great. Okay. And can I zoom in here? I can. Okay. So the nice thing is actually we've got, if you're into maps or you're building something with maps, then Steve on the Postgres team has done a lot of work on with PostGIS as well. And so we can literally select here. I'm going to go down and select, let's say, where is it? The geometry. Here, I'm just going to select this one. So only the geometry. This one probably I'm going to select.
Do you need to go Bash instead of JavaScript?
I do. Thank you very much. And I'm going to put the anon key because it is fine. So now if I select all of these, I'm just going to select all the cities, and this one actually has already run. You can see I've selected the geometric point that I had from the table, and it's returning as here's the field name, geom, type is a point, and then it's got the coordinates inside it. So actually,
useful.
you can use this inside if you've used Leaflet, JS, or any of these front-end frameworks for doing mapping, then actually our API already supports it. And yeah, it's going to be one of the things that probably will end up supporting quite natively and making sure that it's very easy to use. So definitely if you're building, I don't know, anything to do with maps, check out what we've got there and check out PostGIS.
That is amazing.
That's and you just casually glossed over the auto-generated docs there for Supabase.
It's like,
Look, I'm just going to grab this query, no problem. It's done it for me. Yeah.
That is very, very cool. Jonathan is saying that they actually built a geocode and reverse geocode with Supabase like this, and it was super easy to set up. So,
Nice.
Also used the geo names as source. That's
Okay, very cool.
Ant said that he refuses to work with a round earther, so
Yeah.
looks like the relationship there is done.
Okay. We're done.
Yeah, I don't know which one of you is leaving the company, but it's been great working with both of you. And Hijabi Coda has said that they have learned a lot in this live stream, and so have I. I definitely learn a lot every time we do one of these streams. They are.
Well, yeah, hopefully if you're like, when I was watching these streams before I worked at Supabase, it's like, just thinking of all the different possibilities of things you like. Yeah, I know we talked about the like Uber examples or anything, but I think a lot of websites just have like a simple use case, like find the nearest store to me. And it's like, you can build that in like, it's a few lines of code with PostGIS, and it just works with Postgres. It's just like, so from like simple use cases like that to all the way up to Uber use cases.
Yeah,
no problem. Got you covered.
For sure. And it really, it's a shout out to the PostGIS team as well. They've been at it for 15 years or something like that. And Postgres as well being so extensible, it's just becoming obviously like a very powerful tool to have in your tool belt. Even if you weren't to use Supabase, I would just always recommend that Postgres as well is just, such an amazing database. So do make sure if you're watching along and you're not going with Supabase, still go with Postgres.
Do you know if Uber or like any of the like Google Maps-y stuff or anything like that was using PostGIS?
I think is Uber a source story for Postgres, or is that something else?
Yeah. So Uber actually at some point changed to not just MySQL, they created something that they renamed. Yeah, and basically they turned MySQL into an append-only store. It was something like Big or, I forget what it is, but they switched away from Postgres to MySQL. And then they, built essentially, it's kind of like a append-only log where then they would aggregate everything up. So I can't remember why it was, but
it was a big thing at the time, and now nobody seems to care, and everyone's still using Postgres.
The other thing about, Uber really seemed to like to re-engineer things themselves. So I don't know if it really was a problem that they couldn't solve with Postgres rather than they wouldn't solve. So it seems to be very typical within the tech space. But
gives you a lot of blogs to write about in the.
And to be honest as well, I say that I love Postgres, but also MySQL is an incredible database. So both great, and they've got different merits. So
totally.
Yeah, I'm completely biased when I say I like Postgres better.
Okay.
Awesome. And I like document database
Don't get careful.
That's the only one you're not allowed to say, right?
This has been so much fun. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Copple. This has been awesome to get to pick your brain not only on some of the history of Supabase, but also these amazing little hints and tips and tricks and things with Supabase and Postgres. This has been awesome. Cool. I will just quickly plug, if you have been enjoying this and want to go back and watch a few other streams that we've done. This is episode 5 of the Supabase Happy Hour. So we've got 4 other episodes you can check out where we have been building out a real-time chat application using Supabase and Next.js. And coming soon, as we keep hinting, we will be building a Flutter app that uses the same Supabase backend, so turning our Supabase instance into a multi-platform serving beast.
We're back on that next week, so
Yes.
Join us next Friday where we'll hopefully, I know we say it every week, we'll be finishing off the Next.js side of things, but then we keep expanding the scope.
Yeah,
so,
we just keep finding cool things that we want to cover. But yes, give us a subscribe on the Supabase YouTube and click that little bell, and you'll hear when we are going live or doing something fun like this. Also, give us a follow on Twitter, and from there you can click through to discord.supabase.com, which takes you to this invite for our Discord, where there are a whole bunch of people, 6,892 people, who are also keen about building cool stuff with Supabase. So we would love to see you there. I am going to play us out with...
Hit us with the Copple cam one last time.
Right, one more Copple cam. I mean, we set it up. We've got to use it.
Okay.
And here is for the first time ever, we've actually created an outro video instead of just playing the intro one again. So much shorter. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Goodbye.